Hi, this is Professor Sanchez, and the goal of this video is to walk you through the Essay 3 assignment on the topic of joy. So the overall topic of the paper is about how we create joy in our everyday mundane routines. And then the second part of the question is, how does that joy that we create then contribute to our sense of personal flourishing? So for the topic, I have a number of questions here to think about. And these are things that you might discuss within your paper, or they might be questions that get you to your thesis statement. Also, the articles for this paper might also help you get some new ideas or connect to some ideas you already have on the topic. So we're thinking about how we find joy in just little moments, not for the big events, the holidays, the things that, we expect to bring us a lot of joy, just sort of your everyday life and routine. We want to think about how we can create moments of joy, the obstacles we face in pursuing joy, maybe in, here in Philadelphia specifically, or within the cultures that we associate with, or with the world culture that we're experiencing right now. What perspectives and approaches could be helpful to finding more joy in our everyday life? And secondly, do you think it's more about actions that we take or the perspective that we have in our mind? So to find more joy, is it about things we do or things we think? And maybe it's both, but I want you to think about that a little bit and come up with some ideas. Keeping all of that in mind, how do these moments then contribute to the sense that we feel like we're flourishing in life, that we're living our best life, putting our best foot forward, that we have sort of holistic well-being, and we feel that? In order to write this paper, I have included some articles for you to reference. I have these three here. The first one will give you some information about human flourishing that might be helpful, mostly in the second part of the paper. And these two articles by Ross Gay, I've included these because they're a little more difficult in terms of reading. They're not straightforward like the gratitude articles that we read. He is a poet. He's a beautiful writer, but he's windy. Like sometimes he's hard to follow. And that's what makes it so great, because he sort of builds to his ideas and presents philosophical views and supports it with metaphors. I hope that you will have space and openness to enjoy his writing and pay attention to any little statements that he says that could relate to how to find this joy in your everyday life. Especially, he talks about how we find it in the midst of sorrow. And then secondly, how that makes us flourish. At the bottom here, I have, it's just one document with these three articles in it, if you prefer that. Down here, I've added two more articles that you could use if you want. This one is very straightforward. It's sort of like the gratitude articles that we read, where it gives you a list, like a lot of lists and a lot of basic information, and will help you brainstorm some ideas. This one is also a great article. It's a researched article from a database that will give you some information specifically about college students and finding joy. So you shouldn't use any other sources besides these five. I know that that feels constricting, and it's part of the class. It's part of putting those constraints in and adds another level of challenge for you. So sorry, not sorry. I I don't want this to cause you stress, but I also want to challenge you to work on integrating and synthesizing sources. I promise you for the last paper, the next one, you will choose all of your sources yourself. So for this one, bear with me. What I want you to do essentially is pick 3 of these that you would reference in your paper. You could reference all 5, but I would try to reference at least 3 of them. That way you're working, you only have to reference them one time in your paper. But I would suggest more than 3 references throughout the 4 to 6 page paper. This just gives you a little more depth and a little more to work with as you write, okay? So these articles, the way you use them in the paper, they could give you ideas for some main points to talk about. They could also support some main points that you've come up with on your own. So you can do it either way. You can mix and match. The goal of it is that these articles provide ideas and support to help you develop the paper. You can also use your own experiences and observations. So maybe something you've seen, some specific examples, maybe a story, maybe even something you've seen on a television show or in a movie or heard in a song. All of this is valid as support in the essay as well. So we're mixing our own ideas with the ideas from the articles. Okay, here we are getting to the overall goal of the paper. We're going to synthesize these ideas from the different sources and synthesize it with our own ideas and experiences, our own lens, to come up with a thesis statement in response to the following question. 2 parts. How do humans create joy in small moments every day? And how does this practice contribute to flourishing? We're going to answer those questions in 1 to 2 sentences, and then you'll build your points around that idea. If you look down here, you'll see logistically the paper, it needs to be 4 to 6 pages double spaced. I know that is an increase from the other papers we've been writing, and you can totally do it. Some people feel anxiety when they see these numbers, but I totally believe in you. If you can write a 2-page paper, you can write any length paper. You just break it down into 2-page sections, okay? It just takes a little longer, but you can totally do it. The way I've been describing it to people is this essay will have 2 parts. The first part, the first half of the essay, oh my gosh, will be this first part of the question, okay? How do humans create joy in small moments every day? So the first 2 to 3 pages of the paper will be the introduction and 2 or 3 paragraphs about how we create joy. This is set up in the outline as well that you'll be doing next week. So you can reference that there. Then the second half of the essay, which will also be 2 to 3 pages, will talk about how this joy then contributes to flourishing. So the greater effects of this. So it's how do we create it, and then what are the ripple effects of this in our lives and to our sense of flourishing, as well as the conclusion. That will be the next 2 to 3 pages. I hope that helps you visualize it better and makes it seem less intimidating. You will be doing a works cited page for this paper and your signal phrases, in-text citations. At the bottom of the page here, feel free to review the rubric. It's posted there. It's very similar to the other rubrics we've used for the other papers because I want to work on building these skills throughout the semester. Okay, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I wish you joy through the writing process, and please know that I'm available to meet with you or speak with you if you are stuck, if you're confused. Seriously, just reach out. I don't want you to struggle alone out there. Have a good one.